one by one. I don't understand. Okay. All right, let's jump in. So I'm going to go ahead and take you on a pretty fast ride of understanding how the top 1% actually do manage their time. And on that journey, feel free to write down questions, write stuff in the chat. I'm going to answer any more specific questions on the back end, okay? So on the front end, it's going to be very like the principles that anybody and everybody can relate to. On the back end, this is where you can ask more specific questions to your specific situation. But I really want to make sure this can hit everybody that's on this call today. So no problem, Laura, glad you're on the call. Yeah, gotcha. Well, here's my guess of what some of the challenges are that you may have that are on this call. Maybe you're a little overwhelmed. Maybe you're very busy. Maybe you lack focus. Maybe you are lacking time in your life. Maybe you're having difficulty prioritizing. Maybe you're not setting goals, at least the appropriate goals, right kind of goals. And maybe you find yourself procrastinating and wasting some time. And it's frustrating. And maybe you also have just this work-life balance problem. And somewhere along the way, it's like, I know I need to be I had one of my clients recently was like, I'm working and I like to work, but when I'm at home, I sometimes feel like I'm still working. So it's like, how can I like enjoy a day off and feel refreshed? I'm like, I love it. So that's what we're working on. And then there are some of you who are just challenged by your business. I'm not going to deal with this as much tonight, but just know I can help you with that. All right, so we're going to talk about T5. If you want to write these 5 things down, I think they're going to be helpful to you. By the way, I'm not selling anything. I'm really just trying to give you some good content tonight. And if you want to have an ongoing discussion afterwards, we can do that. I'll give some opportunity for that. But if you want to just write these, and then I'll also add some other things. I'll talk about that here. I've got a few more slides I'll talk about here in a second. But you know, with T5, these are the 5 things that are going to be just overall principles. And then I call this time management rocket fuel. Time management rocket fuel is actually the way to apply these principles, okay? And if you want to join this group, you're welcome to do that. I'm talking about maybe doing some deep dive on some of these things that we're going to talk about tonight periodically on that group. And so anyway, you could join that. You're welcome to do that. And then I've got lots of PDFs and all kinds of little helps along the way. And again, I called this time management rocket fuel. And basically what I love to do is help you come up with your dream life, your dream goals, your next chapter, and figure out how to actually get there, how to actually achieve that. And I love to do that, create the systems, the habits, the processes in your life so that you actually can do that. So you can actually achieve what you didn't think that you could. And I wrote a book called Focus, and I'm going to, for those of you who stay to the end, I'll go ahead and give you a little, out of that book, I wrote like 10 principles. And here are the top 10 things that I think can help you at least learn to stay a little bit more focused. And it's got a video and things like that, because I always love to add just a little extra. I always love just to give a little bit more. And I could talk about each of these things, you know, just the stages of time management rocket fuel. Let me just, basically it's to break it down. You know, you need to know how to lead your time. You need to know how to lead others, and you need to know how to lead yourself first. So how to lead your time, how to lead yourself, how to lead others, and then eventually how to lead your work, how to lead your business. And so those are kind of the 3 stages that we're going to work through. And I'm not going to go through each of these stages right now. At the end, I'll probably tell you at least the habits that I think that you need to learn to be able to achieve what you didn't think you could achieve, or where you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Um, I really would love for you to be able to get at the end of each day, knowing that you are accomplishing exactly what you wanted. You can pat yourself on the back. You can reward yourself. Maybe like one of my clients right now, actually be able to turn off and enjoy the family, and not just veg out or numb out on Netflix or something like that. Okay. And so again, I call this time management rocket fuel. Again, I have a step-by-step process, and this is the step-by-step process in the exact order that I think that you need to take. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can learn. All this stuff isn't going to even be new, a lot of it to you. Though I could talk forever on all kinds of tips and tools and things like that, but it ends up becoming a distraction and actually force you to spend more time trying to figure out technology and all these things. So really want to be able to create the most important things for you to be able to get more done in less time, and with less stress, and don't keep cramming more stuff in your life. I don't know if you can relate to any of that, but that's what I'm going to try to help you with tonight. Again, I've got lots of PDFs. We could talk about it. And the first one, the very first step, I think, is I find that most people are overwhelmed by just a lack of certainty on what to do, because there's so much out there, so much information. They're burnout on distractions, and they're just frustrated by by losing focus. And so we'll kind of go from there. I'm going to kind of keep moving. I'm going to give you some research, by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Dr. Gail Matthews had some research says if you would just write down your goals, you're actually 42% more likely to accomplish them, just writing them down. And there's more to it than that, for sure. But anyway, I'm going to give you some research today as well. And I want you to hear this time, and you probably know this. You may have heard this quote from Jim Rohn, but he says that time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you can't get more time. All right. So where money is okay. All right. I mean, I like money, and you can take it, you can manage it, but time is one of those things that's really precious, and it's gone. I'm a faith person. There's an old quote um, in Psalm 90. So it's like an Old Testament quote. It's about 3,000-year-old quote. And it says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And that tells me a couple of things. I think one is, learning to set a deadline. You can learn from that. I usually say it's never a failure if you learn from it. And so learning to set boundaries can be very helpful to you. And I used to not like it. It always made me feel bad about myself. And so, learning how to set a boundary and grow from that is an important thing. I work with the homeless in my town almost every day. And I love to see them achieve and get out of their homelessness and be able to do more than they ever thought imaginable. But they have to recognize that they have to get control of their time. They can't just hope. Hope is not a plan, right? Hope that things get better. That's what kind of led to their homelessness in many ways. Some of it's other things, addictions and all kinds of other stuff that can mess us up. But anyway, I love this, right? And Michael Hyatt, he talks about how that we only have 80 years, and there's like each of these dots represent a year, and a year can go by, and another year can go by, another year can go by. And if you're not careful, your life goes by and you begin to feel regret, and you begin to go, why am I not achieving what I really want in my life? Sometimes you can be you can be working really hard and achieving a lot of things, but they're not fulfilling. And so I love to help. My core why I'm here is to be able to help. I want to live free, but I want to help other people live free and fulfilled in their life. And a lot of people, if they're not careful, they end up climbing this ladder to success, and all of a sudden they realize that the ladder is on the wrong building or something, and their life is not fulfilling. And so it's like, well, what do they need to do different? Sometimes we call that midlife crisis, right? And all of a sudden you begin to wake up and say, maybe it's not just about money, or maybe it's not just about this or that. And as I was doing this, I was recognizing all these famous people who died, like Steve Jobs died when he was 56. My birthday is tomorrow, and I'm going to turn 57. So, I'm just like, wow, look how much Steve Jobs accomplished, though, in such a short amount of time. Pretty amazing. So how do all of these individuals, it's like, why is it that some people can accomplish so much more? Okay. And so these are the things that I started, I was a pretty proud person. I was always not wanting people to think that I had problems and or issues or whatever. And so I'd always kind of put out this front that everything was great and I looked perfect. And in the end, that really hurt me because I was not getting better. I was continually being in this cycle, and I felt like I was a loser dad. And I'm like, how come I'm not accomplishing what I really want for my life? And how come I'm not happy about this? And so I began to realize it's like, okay, there can be a different way. And one of the things I did is I joined the John Maxwell team, and John, he's one of the top leadership gurus in the world. I think he's written more on leadership than anybody ever in history. And I began to see that there's another way, and I began to look out there and pay people to teach me how they were able to accomplish things. And I'm sure I spent way too much money doing it. But in the end, this is why I came up with time management rocket fuel. And this is how I now love helping people. And I do have an MBA myself. I don't think you need an MBA. But in fact, I think that was probably because of a lack in my part. Again, I used to have more of a, instead of an abundance thinking, I had more of a scarcity thinking. Kind of grew up like, like I don't know, it's like I almost felt more at home at in the discount section, you know, because this is how I don't know, somewhere I picked this up in how I was raised. And so I always felt like I was supposed to get the right education. That's how you're going to get there the fastest. And now I don't, that's very rarely I find what most people need, unless maybe you're a doctor or you have to get certified in something. I'm not saying it's bad. I have an MBA, but honestly, I did not get anything from that. I hate to say that. Hope my professor's not listening, but uh, yeah, I got some friends, got some good friends. I got some debt, you know, and I learned that I'm going to do things differently. And I want to teach that to you as well. Okay. And I could tell, I guess what I want, I know you don't care about most of this, all these accolades and things like that, and who have helped me and all that. It might make you go, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. But what I really want you to hear is this: I'm a human. I have ADHD. I struggle with focus. I've gone through a lot of things that, have been hard. I've gone through a lot of loss. I'm not perfect. And I have to use these principles myself to be able to stay focused, to be able to help me accomplish things. And they work. They really do work. And I've had to learn how to use these myself. And now I really love helping other people through their challenges. And I guess I could say, some people, I usually say a third grader can teach a first grader, because they know where the bathroom is or whatever. And I'm just another person on this journey of really trying to help people through maybe what they don't know yet and help them to actually get there. And I see it, these principles I find help people over and over, over and over again. They help 100% of the people that I help. I don't know that it can for sure help you, but I think you're going to find that it really can, and you can have a much more peaceful life. You can not have to always be running on adrenaline. and you can really actually be happy about the journey that you're on, even though you're not haven't arrived yet. And again, I've learned from all kinds of different people that you've heard of, popular people, maybe some of these others. I don't know if you know of Mike Filsaime, who wrote Groove, and Kajabi, and some of these spiritual people. Here's a physician. Here's a marketer type of guy. This is, you've seen this business guy, I'm sure, in Shark Tank. But anyway, I've learned that I can learn from just about anybody. And I'm just hoping that you're going to be humble and be open to consider, even though you think you know it all, maybe you don't. And maybe there's just, even though you know the principle, are you actually applying it? And maybe are you applying it the right way? Because there may be something that you're missing. And I hope that tonight you're going to really go, maybe I should be open to doing things a little bit different. And let's kind of get into this. How do you get 10 hours of your life back? Would you like to achieve your goals? Would you like to not be distracted by the energy drainers and the black hole people and the Facebook and the TikTok videos? And do you want to stop missing out on things that really matter to you? Yes, you're doing lots of activities, but are you doing the kind of activity that makes you actually feel accomplished and get some things done? And do you not want to live with regret in your life and in your work? And I would love to see you significantly actually be more productive and with less time, less stress. And I know you may not believe it. And by the end of this time, this talk, I'm going to give you research and show you how that this is very true. I'll start with this one. Harvard Business Review says that 90% of managers squander their time in ineffective activities. Ouch. They go on, Bertrand Gocho goes on to say that the big problem is learning to manage their focus, manage their energy. And if you're low on one of these, it could cause you to be a procrastinator. It can cause you to be distracted. You can be distracted externally or internally, right? You could be disengaged, right? I don't want to get up in the morning. I don't want to go to work. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for all of these. In fact, I just read a couple of weeks ago, Gallup says that 90%, no, 70% of all workers are disengaged in their job. That blows my mind because I am so engaged in what I do. It just surprises me. But when I look at the other people around me working, I'm going, oh, I think that's probably absolutely true. And then there are those of us who tend to be over purposeful. And if we're not careful, we can get overwhelmed and we can get burnout. Okay. So I wrote this to be able to help these people right here, okay? Those that are struggling with maybe focus and energy and really want to be achievers, and they want to be fulfilled at the end of their life and really achieve what they really want. And on that journey, though, this one right here, I found people who are going through grief or loss. You can't just push through the things that I'm going to talk about next. You really have to go through when you have loss or grief. And so this is why I created the grief recovery roadmap, and to help people through that. You're welcome to kind of look at that if that is an issue that you're facing. But I just realized that I needed to get people through some, not very, not everybody, but some people who've been going through a loss and are just down and disengaged, needed a way to be able to work through their stuff. Okay. So that they could get to their next chapter. And then they're ready for what I'm going to be talking about now, which is the actually next chapter. So if you can relate to any of these things at all, then this is perfect for you. And I'm going to try to give you a step-by-step process. And I do want you to kind of assess yourself for a second. Like, did you get stuff done that you wanted this week? Not did you get a lot of stuff done, but did you get the things done you wanted this week? And does that fit into your bigger picture? Do you want to work hard, or do you work hard, but you wonder if you could maybe work smarter? Does your life or work seem unfulfilling and you're just not getting out of it what you really want? Or maybe do you have some big dreams? You wonder why you haven't achieved them yet? I could go on and on with questions. And I know I can talk fast, so slow me down if I need to and say, hey, just stop, go back to that or whatever. And I'll slow down for that. Let me just see how we're doing. All right, so if you can relate to any of these really are just symptoms of the root cause problem. It's basically the concept is cause and effect. It's like if you set an alarm clock, that's a cause, and the effect is it'll wake you up, right? Hopefully. If you forget to set the alarm clock, then the effect is I might not wake up for work, and that has another bunch of ripple effects. And so the real reason that you haven't implemented the principles, the real reason that you have not become more efficient, more effective, is that you have not applied the principles of T5 and the specific steps of time management rocket fuel. And it really is that simple. We make it hard. For some reason, we always like to complicate things. We get in our head and we do all these little things in our head. And by the way, I said efficient and effective, if you remember. So I'm not talking, I know a lot of you get on this call and you're just like, I just want that secret little bullet thing that's going to be a great idea so I can get more done in less time. Okay, and so I might call that efficiency, right? But the problem is we still are busy. We often still keep filling things up in our life. And even then, it doesn't mean that we're effective, right? There's a big difference between those two. So I can efficiently hit a wall. I can efficiently go off a cliff, right? So what we're trying to do is figure out how to help you become more effective and then sure, become more efficient. And T5 system is kind of what we're talking about here. And let me just kind of walk through each of these with you real quick. The first one is truth. And as soon as you begin to dream and you have a dream goal or a calling or something that's important in your life that you want to achieve, you're going to have pushback. Some of these guys I work with that are homeless, sometimes it's not even a big thing. I just want a house or an apartment and a job, or whatever. But they've been living with mindset issues for many, many years, which is what has, they've been able to achieve as much as they have, which is not much in many cases. And the reason is because of mindset. The reason is because of the pushback that they have believed in their life, that they're not enough, that they don't have enough, they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. We all have these things that push back against us. And so what the top 1% have learned to do is to be able to speak truth into what I call lies, okay? And they may be true, like I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or I've always wanted to write this book, or blah, blah, blah. I want to do this. I want to have more time with my grandkids or whatever it is. So, but the reality is that pushback is what is what gets them. And unless they can speak truth into those lies, they will continue to have be stuck. Okay. Carl Jung says, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate. So do you want to continue to have those beliefs in your mind hold you back? Right. And so that's what this is all about. And at least that's one of the things that the top 1% begin to recognize. And I know this is going to be hard truth, but let me give it to you. I am the problem and I am the solution. I am the problem and I am the solution. You may have heard that. And when I first heard that, I was really depressed. When I went out and spent some time with John in Florida, I wrote this at the end of the week after being there. It's sad to me that most people have chosen to accept their life rather than lead their life. And I was talking to myself there. It's sad to me that I have spent most of my life, working hard, but really kind of believing that maybe this is just the life that I have to live with, busyness, or not achieving some of these grander things that were on my heart. Maybe it's just a way maybe it was God's will. Maybe it's, this is just, or I start blaming, right? I just don't live in the right place. I don't have the right learning. And I start going, how come other people are achieving and I'm not? Maybe this is the way it's supposed to be, right? So it's really depressing. I'm the problem. But you know what? Here's the positive thing is that I'm also the part of the solution. And so if you can embrace this, you can also embrace this. That means that you have another choice. You don't have to continue um, struggling, working harder and not smarter, or being frustrated with whatever it is you're frustrated with today. There's actually another way. And what usually is keeping us back are these things, these triggers, these myths, these poor mindsets, these limiting beliefs, as we call them. And you have to be able to speak liberating truth into those lies. Now, I'm going to give you some interesting facts, okay? And this should blow your mind, okay? Let's just go jump down to this one. Greeks work 2,000 hours a year on average, okay? 2,000. Germans work about 1,400 hours. So that's 600 hours less a year, right? So what's that tell you about Germans? They're lazy. No, I'm just joking. Because look at this. They are 70% more productive. Okay, interesting. They're more productive working less. So those of you who keep working harder and harder, could there be a different way? Do you want to continue to just work harder? If not, let's have a discussion, okay? I was also, and we always give these excuses, right? There's always, I was talking, one of the guys I was working with today, every time I talked about something, he would always interrupt and he would say, yeah, but, and then he always had this excuse. And he wasn't willing to hear the truth that could actually set him free. He wasn't willing to look at himself and see that maybe he was actually part of the problem. And, let me give you an example. A lot of us, we have these lies that pop up. Things like the early bird gets the worm, right? And so you must have to be a morning person. But I love what Adam Grant, he puts this thing together about all of these famous people, and their daily routines are all very different. They're very different. I could just as easily say it's the night owl that gets the rat, right? So we hold ourselves back often by our belief systems, and we need to be able to know truth. I'm not saying, because there is a difference between a a dream and a fantasy. Okay, so a fantasy is not tied to reality. It's not tied to truth. And I say facts are your friends. So you do have to be tied to reality. On the other hand, some people are not tied to reality, and we call it a dream is tied to reality, if I said that right, but a fantasy is not. And so in a fantasy, we just hope things happen and they never do. And if you're not careful, you just like start playing the lottery or something like that, these Hail Mary things, so that we can try to get things done, but it never seems to get us there. All right. Here's another time management guru, Brian Tracy. He says, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude towards what happens to you. And in that, you're going to be mastering change rather than allowing it to master you. I've got one of our clients said when you go through this process, you learn a better way to use your time. You become more efficient, more effective, more focused. And she says, and I learned to have a new mindset. There it is, a new mindset. So are you in control? Are you in control of your mindset? And are you aware of what is holding you back? And do you know how to do what you don't know how to do? There's a way to do that. There's a way to know how to do what you don't know how to do. And that's the fourth step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the fourth step in time management rocket fuel is learning how to do that. All right, so truth. And I spend a lot of time on truth because I want people to know that that is an issue. It's an issue for almost everybody. Because you really don't know what you don't know, and you're not aware of your unconscious. And unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life, right? So that's what truth is all about. And the second T that I want you to think about is time. Okay, time. So are you mastering your time? Do you know how to master your time? If you want to join, again, this T5 system, time management rocket fuel, you're welcome to do that. Again, I'll try to do some deeper dives every once in a while on that. But time is really about learning to create the right habits in your life, the right tips, the right tricks, the right templates. And there are all kinds of those out there, but most people spend way too much time on way too many of these things. They don't need a schedule. They don't need a planner. They don't need, the latest AI program, though AI can help. I use AI, and I use AI to help you. But if you're not careful, you can get so caught up in this and this and such, and your life goes by and you never actually live it. So I like what Atomic Habits James Clear says. I heard him, oh gosh, last year now. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So you need goals, but you need the right systems. Okay. And that's what time management rocket fuel does. It gives you the right system. There's several key systems that you need to create. And Maria was one of those that she wasn't sure if the principles would work for her. I wasn't sure if they would either, because she was a single mom. She wasn't a typical leadership type. And I like to use her as an example because this was a woman who, every time I talked to her, she would fall asleep. For 7 years, she'd been trying to get a job, and she was a CNA, working all night long. And then trying to take care of her daughter during the day. And long story short, she was able to start to use these principles, and she triples her income. She then 30% more her income. And now, so she just told me this last week, I guess, is that she was able to get 30% more. And she calls herself, she went from a hero to a zero to a hero. I love that. She went from zero to hero. So that's kind of the point, is then now learning how to use time for you instead of against you. And then T3 is, how do the top 1% do it? Which by the way, well, anyway, I'll leave it at that. And again, you can ask more questions on the back end for more specifics to where you are. And I will just help you absolutely specifically, and I'll stay on a little while just to help you with that. Okay, but T3 is transfer. And so if you imagine this, how did the top 1% do it? Get so much more done? Well, they don't do it all themselves, right? Taylor Swift doesn't do everything. She's the face with the place, but there's so many people behind working with her. I think about, the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, is a American football team, and they won the Super Bowl this year. And Patrick Mahomes, he has a coach. There's a bunch of coaches behind him. He has a team of people behind him. But what you learn is that you can't do it all. And so you have to know what you need to eliminate in your life, what to automate, and then what to delegate. So are you doing that? Do you know what to eliminate? Do you know what things are good to automate? And are you delegating the right things? Kevin was a good example of this one, where he was in Fort Worth, Texas, and he's had a business and making lots. He was doing really well, but he had plateaued for about 5 years. And I asked him, well, what would you like to do different? And he goes, I'd like to make more money. And I said, well, how much money? And he goes, $1 million. And I said, okay, Kevin, let's make $1 million. And he's like, oh, wait. I was kind of joking. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. And he said, well, the reality is, what if I fail? So, okay. So we had to work on that. And then as soon as he dealt with that one, it was like, well, what if I succeed? Because, like, how would I take care of all these people? So we had to start learning how to do a little bit of delegating. And how do you do that in a way that still feels good to you? And again, I've seen this happen over and over again. Even the kind of leadership that requires is a different kind of leadership than maybe most have learned. It's servant leadership. It's like really trying to build others long on your team instead of just telling them what to do. And this was all, I love this story because this is like all this is a nonprofit for the most part. It works for nonprofits. And it started off with like 30 volunteers, and it moved to like over 400 volunteers in the course of a couple of years. And there's only one person that was paid on this entire group of people in this hospital. And in this hospital, there were more people volunteering than there were actually workers in the hospital. Why is that? Right? What's up with that? What is that leadership? How is it different that people would want to follow? They would want to participate in it. They're not paid to show up. And so again, that's how do the top 1% do it? They've learned some things. They've learned the skills to pay the bills. And I usually say they learn the wills and the skills to pay the bills for the rest of their life. And if you learn these habits, what I have a lot of people do is they say, I get it. What I want to do, I understand what this is. Now, what I really want, and they begin to like dream again. And maybe you're at that place where you're just like, I don't need this and this. I just need to figure out how to get past this one thing. And if you can just figure that out, then all of a sudden, maybe if you trust me, you'll realize that there's actually hope and that you could actually do even more. Like I said, I do a business thing, or it's like, learning how to take care of your business, because most people are focusing on the wrong things in their business instead of the most important things, like these things right here. But I'm not going to talk about that today, but just know if that is something that you're interested in. Just like grief, it's kind of it's a sub thing of time management rocket fuel. All right, so let's talk about this fourth one. The fourth one is tradition. So it's one thing to have, a team, or it's one thing to have a dream. It's another thing to have a team. It's another thing to have a dream team. And then it's another thing to keep that team. And the way to keep that team is what's called tradition and creating a healthy culture. And I love that with Janet here. She became a founder of JCPenney. That's like one of the top 10%. And then she wanted to do it again. So we coached her to become a founder again. And I think she got like a bump in pay because of it. And then she did, like I told you, she said, now what I really want to do, I really want to be able to spend more time with my grandkids. I really want to be able to empower women. And she became very passionate about some of those things. And so that's what she did. She actually left JCPenney, and she started doing more of the things that were important to her. Okay. So anyway, that's T4, and we could talk more about that, but again, just kind of trying to keep us moving. And then T5 is the most important one, I believe, of all of the principles, and it's called tutor. It's getting yourself a coach or a mentor that can help you. So I could also talk about mastermind groups. I was talking to you earlier. There's like three of these guys, or three of these people here are from Canada. The person who was telling me they're from Canada earlier, and this is not in Canada. That's actually in Colorado. But this gal here, she's one of we mentor each other, we coach each other, we support each other. But I think this is interesting. Bill Gates says everyone needs a coach. And the reason he said that is because he's so stupid, right? Because he really doesn't know what he needs help. Obviously, this guy needs some help. All right, I'm being a little facetious here, but what I want you to hear is this is the one that everybody's like, well, I don't know that I can afford it. I don't know that I can do that. I don't know who or, how or whatever. And it's like, so you don't do what the top 1% do. Here's Bill Gates. Everyone needs a coach. Oprah Winfrey has a coach. Justin Bieber has a coach. Okay. So you should maybe pay attention to that. Why? Okay. It's not because they need the help like you might think, but they recognize they need the accountability. They recognize they need someone to help them see what they can't see. They recognize that someone might just actually know some element or piece or help them see something that they can't see, and how to do something they didn't know how to do. Because nobody knows it all. Everyone is ignorant in some area. Okay. So anyway, that's what that's about. And then, I could talk more about this. I just listened to Pat Gelsinger last year at the Global Leadership Summit. I go to that every year. I've gone to that for probably 25 years. I always have been trying to grow in my own leadership. And I thought it was interesting that Pat said that he calls it the map. You need these audacious goals, which is what we talk about in the very first step of time management rocket fuel is get you clear. I call it 2020 vision. And why? So the vision is to be clear about your goals, and the why is to know what your passion is. And then he said, and then you need a mentor. Loved it. And by the way, Pat is one of those stories where he wanted to be CEO. That was one of his dream goals, and he was fired. And so now all of a sudden, he lost his dream. But did you notice he's now the CEO of Intel? So, I think you should trust this process. I just told my mom that of all the things that she's done for me or bought for me, which is a lot, buying me 6 months of coaching with you has been the best money she has ever spent. And this was a gal who was a medical student who lost her dream. She flunked her first year of medical school. She thought, okay, maybe that's it. I just should go back to doing something else like teaching or something. And long story short, she's now a physician. In fact, I just got a text from her yesterday. And I hadn't talked to her in several months. But she said she wants me to start coaching her again. So I'm very flattered by this. And her mom saw the difference that was going on in her life, and so um, she actually became a client as well. And so we're not talking about, so the reason why you're not achieving something is because you're stupid. Okay? It's because you don't know this, you don't know the system. You just don't know the process. Okay? And so do you want to keep struggling, right? About that? I hope you don't. I could talk about some of my mentors. I'm not going to, but let me just say it this way. If you want to achieve something great, find yourself a great coach, someone who understands you, has walked the path that you walked, that you want to walk, and let them help you. Someone that has the right system, someone that has the right support. I went to Disney. I like this story because I think it kind of teaches a little bit what I'm talking about. And I went to, if you go to Disney World, you can go to Disney World or Disney Land in the United States. And you have to kind of figure out which one, right? And then it's like, if you decide, like a Disney World, then it's like, which one do I want to go to? Because there's all, it's like Epcot or whatever. But anyway, if you've got the right coach, they're going to ask you some good questions. So I started using coaching to help me be able to have a wonderful, fantastic day at the place where dreams come true. And if the right coach is going to ask you some good questions, like how big is your family? How old is your family? How important is this trip to you? How much money do you have? And things like that. And then they're going to follow up with some more questions of things you've never thought of, maybe like, are you aware of the Disney genie? Would you like to get another hour in by staying at the resort? And things like that. And I used this to help me think through I wanted to go ride all the roller coaster rides at this one particular park and be able to get home before all crazy hit. And so I'm kind of making my way through the day. It's about 1 or 2 o'clock, and I'm starting to get nervous because I'm in this very, very long line, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of this. And that line over there looks shorter. Maybe I should just go ahead and jump to that one first and then either come back or do this other thing. But I then remembered I was told, trust the process. There's a process, and if you just trust this process, it works. So I took a deep breath and I trusted my coach and took a deep breath and I just enjoyed the day. In fact, I just dug up this picture with my daughter. I need to put this picture on here. But we had a great time just talking, making it through this line. Went through, had a lot of fun on that roller coaster. It's one of my favorite roller coaster rides. And then I went through the rest of the day, and I actually got to ride all the roller coaster rides I wanted, all of the roller coaster rides that were at this park. Um, that's just a little picture, I guess is what I'm saying, of this principle of tutors, okay? You can get there faster with the right people in your life. So would you like to have no more limiting beliefs? Would you like to would you like to master your time? Would you like to have others working for you, enjoying those around you, and having handheld support? Now, I know I've been going, running, and gunning. Is everybody with me so far? I mean, I know I'm putting a lot of content in here, but I'm hoping that you're like, okay, I'm starting to get this. Maybe take a deep breath for a second. Maybe ask which of these things would you need, which one do you need the most right now in your life? Is it T1, T2, T3, T4, T5? Kind of curious. Which of these are you still with me? Are we still awake? T2. All right. So you're still working on mastering your time. Okay. Oh, the limiting beliefs. All right. Thanks, Rebecca, for your honesty. All right. Gotcha. All right. Well, let me just give you some next steps. Time management rocket fuel is all about getting you the right system, the right processes, and then creating the right support. Because you could read books, you can you can go on YouTube, you can learn all the things you want to learn wherever. But do you have the right support? So first of all, do you have the right system? Like, is it in the right place in the right time? Secondly, do you have the right people that are gonna help you get there, right? In accomplishing, working through your stuff in your brain and working through those time questions. Which one, where do I start? Where do I start in this whole time thing? And eventually, I am going to encourage you to go through this whole process, at least these first two phases, and create some habits. And I'll just share the first two because that's kind of where you guys are. Setting goals without being overwhelmed, even if you don't know what your goal or purpose is, or what your deeper why is. Help you speak truth into those beliefs that cause you to procrastinate and get distracted or interrupted. That's the second habit, is really to speak truth into those beliefs that are holding you back. And it can be done so simply, so simply. And then let's create some of this time stuff you're talking about. How to prioritize your calendar without multitasking and overwhelm. I'm not saying that you can't do multiple things, but how to really be lasered in on what you really want so that you can achieve what you want each and every day, reward yourself each day without numbing out. And then I have these other habits as well, but it's mainly those. It sounds to me like that's kind of where you two are. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Know that there are these other habits around relationships, around the kind of people that you need in your life, and how to delegate without dumping and things like that. Okay. So you now have a choice. Keep on doing what you've always been doing. Or would you like to go through plan B? The door that's going to help you act on this information and start putting the T5 system strategies and freedom into your life. So what I do is at this stage, I usually ask you if you'd like to just have a conversation that could lead to a step-by-step strategy plan for you. And it's going to take about 30 minutes. I'm going to ask you lots of questions. Believe it or not, I'm going to talk very little. You will start talking. I'm going to start listening and become a coach. Put my coach hat on. 100% free. And a lot of people say, I don't get it. Why is this free? And I mean, I could talk about reciprocity and all these kind of things, sure. But the real reason is because I love to help leaders, because it has ripple effects. And I also know that some of you, once you understand that this could actually help you, and you have your plan, some of you would like help in achieving it even faster and figuring out the nuances and things like that. And if that's you, then, and only if I believe I can help you, I usually throw out an offer at that stage. So it's like, I mean, of course, I do make money, right? I'm not just doing all this for free all the time. Even though I do a lot for helping others because I want to help the world, right? That's why I help the homeless. Um, but anyway, so I think you understand that, right? It's like, I don't know, it seems like everybody anymore is just like, they don't trust anybody anymore. And I don't blame you. I got one of the guys I was helping in trying to get a job. Someone had emailed him and he said they would give him a job. And when it was all said and done, it was like basically he was going to get his bank account to give him the money for working for them. And basically he was just, got all of his identity stuff. I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating, for people who are trying to help other people out there. Anyway, all right, who this is for? This is for maybe you're a leader. Maybe you want influence for good in the world. And maybe right now, time is your biggest challenge. And if it is, and you'd like to have a conversation, I'd encourage you to do it as soon as you can. I've noticed my calendar's been filling up. If you want, let me give you my phone number as well. And if you do text me, then tell me your name or something, because I get so many different texts and different things. I just don't trust everything either. So, but this is my phone number. It really is legitimately my phone number. And this is the number that I would call you on when we talk. And if you want to just have a conversation to figure out how to help you pass your time challenges right now and experience freedom and fulfillment, then use that link that I just sent you, chadearhart.com/busy leader. And I could take you through other things, other people that I've helped. Oh, and I said I would give you this. Control C. Let me see here. And this is just for you. I'm not going to say this out loud, this link, so you better get it right now. It's kind of it's the link for you who showed up and endured my talk. So I hope you got that and that works for you so that you can get that PDF. And that's T5, Time Management Rocket Fuel. Do you have any questions for me? And if anything is fair game, as long as you be nice. Laura, Rebecca, Zaf. Hi, Zaf. Welcome. All right, Zaf. Let me check to see if it worked. Okay. I'm probably sure it did. Well, I don't know. I'm sure it did. If not, I've had a little bit of technology issues lately, and I just don't trust technology completely right now. So I'm like, okay, make sure it actually did show up. If something didn't, make sure you take my phone number and get it, and make sure you can connect with me that way. I'm looking at the calendar moment. Gotcha. Yep. I'll talk to you soon. Wednesday night. Okay. Let me see. Make sure Wednesday. Yeah, you're there. Okay. Gotcha. All right. All right. I look forward to talking to you guys soon on the other side. Know that you're loved. As leaders get better, everybody wins. So thank you for working at trying to get better yourself. Know that you're loved, know there is hope. Don't quit, don't give up. It's important what you do. And I'll talk to you soon. All right. All right. Peace. Now, how do I turn this off?
Technology issues, isn't it?